So I'm Lori. I'm the mother of 4 children, and my youngest is Garret. Garret was one of those straggler children, 6 years younger than his brother. Everybody's baby. Everybody loved Garret. Fun-loving, carefree. We'll do anything once, and if it's fun, probably do it again. Whether it was right or wrong. A lot of things I didn't know as a mom, but I was a kid once as well. Garret had an energy. He was athletic. He had a natural ability, and I know a lot of parents probably say that about their children. However, he was a drummer. He was a lacrosse goalie for many years, and he had a natural gift. He didn't have to work at it, and he knew he didn't have to work at it, which didn't always play in his favor. So Garret was pretty likable. As he got a little older, he became a little more work. I had to learn how to parent differently. For one, Garret was so much younger, it was just he and I at home. His brothers and his sister were older, and I had always said, kids behave the way they do. How do I want to say that? I didn't think I thought I had more control over raising Garret. He was the 4th. You pretty much know everything by then. But he was from a different generation. He was a little different energy, and he would argue, as opposed to my other children wouldn't dare argue, but they also had the influence of each other, and he didn't. So he was a little bit of work in his high school years. And Garret had the same group of friends from kindergarten through high school. And the parents knew each other, we knew the kids, and we had that trust. I knew what Garret was up to if he was at Aiden's house and Quentin's house and vice versa. And then there was some evidence of maybe a bottle of beer here and there missing. And I knew. Been there, done that. And then looking back on it, I see a lot of things, and I still will say I didn't have a whole lot of control over what he chose to do. I knew that he liked marijuana. He made that very clear. And I understood why he liked it. His type of energy, he had a hard time bringing himself down. And so that made it easier. And I understood that. However, it's still not legal for him. So I would search his room when he left for school. If I had any suspicions, I would search his room, and I would find, evidence of, put his laundry away one day, and there's an empty beer bottle in his sock drawer. Who does that? So I would take pictures of what I would find, and I would send it to him at school, hoping that would put the fear into him, like, oh no, I have to go home and face her, and she found this beer bottle in my sock drawer. And I found a bong one day, and I don't know if this is a little too much information, but I asked him where he got it. It was in his backpack, and he didn't know where he got it. I said, well, you got it from somewhere, and he told me this kid's name. And so we went over to this kid's house, and it was actually a friend of his brother, and I said, is this yours? And he said, nope. And I said, dropped it on the concrete, and I said, pick it up, Garret, get back in the car. I thought that would be a way, to scare him. But and then I started to notice that he didn't want to get up and go to school. When he was at school, he enjoyed being there. It was social. He wasn't, he had to work at his grades, and it really wasn't that important to him. But and being a single parent and having to go to work 3 days out of the school week, he was pretty much on his own. And I get a call from the school, Garret's not here. And so, some things like that I didn't really realize that they were kind of compiling. And then one of Garret's friends was pulled over. They left school early one day, and they all had alcohol in the car. His friend was arrested with DUI, And of course, he was driving with minors in his car. So it was pretty messy. My heart went out to his mom. And, just things that I kept saying, well, this is normal. Look what I was up to back in the day. Back in the day, we didn't have what we have now. And where is all of this leading? And then I was telling Carol a little bit earlier, I did find a yellow pill on Garrett's floor. And being in the healthcare business, I knew that wasn't something that was prescribed to him. And of course, I took a picture of it, sent it to school, and I just, I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. And he'd been suspended a couple of times. He got caught smoking marijuana in a car with some friends, not on school property, but during the school day, so he was suspended. And he just kept pushing things to the limit. And then still I thought lacrosse would be the one thing that would keep him moving forward in a positive way, and realizing if you do this, if you make this choice, the consequences are you will not be able to play. You won't be that star goalie, and you're going to lose any potential scholarship. And he was still in band, doing real good, marching band, having a lot of fun with that. So, the high school years were, at times difficult, but I think we managed okay. And do you want me to go into?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, just keep talking.
My son's texting.
Okay. No, I can't even see a thing. Okay. So we're at a last day in March, almost 4 years ago, and we're at a lacrosse game over in Cedar Woolley, and we win the game and we're off to state. And that has never happened. The lacrosse team here in Skagit Valley maybe would win 3 games a year, but so we're off to state. So Garret and I go to lunch and go home, and he gives me a hug and a kiss goodbye, hops in his car, and he's going to go hang out with his friends. And that was the last night I saw him alive. And I got a phone call at work the next morning. I was working in Everett, and a phone call from one of Garrett's friends' moms that was in Hawaii. They were vacationing, it was spring break. And she told me that I needed to call Garrett's phone. And I knew something had happened, but I didn't know the severity of it. And she didn't give me any more information, and so I called. Let me back up. I'm not real sure. I think what happened was I called Garrett's phone, and as they were trying to answer Garrett's phone on the other end, the detectives, the battery died. They tried to plug it in and retrieve the call, but anyway, then this lady called back, and she said, "Call 911." So we called 911, and they knew nothing. So then I proceeded to call my other children, got a hold of one of them, and he didn't know anything. Called my brother, who's in law enforcement up in Bellingham, and so he was going to try to do what he could do to get some information. About 2 hours later, a police officer was dispatched from Skagit County to Snohomish County and came to work to tell me. And he sat down and he said that he didn't know the details, but that my son was deceased. And I went home from there, and 2 weeks later, I had to be moved out of my house. We had sold, and my world was, it just crashed. But through that, I remained hopeful that there's something in this. There's more in this. Yeah, I lost Garret. This is as bad as it gets. But had Garret not taken that pill that night, somebody else would have lost their child. And I want Garret back more than anything, but it isn't going to happen. And I wouldn't want anybody to go through this. It's life-changing, and a lot of the times there are no words for it. There are just no words. My family will never be whole we'll always have Garret. I'll always have 4 children, but there will never be another family photo. You know, we get, you know, grandchildren and they, you know, fill up these little spaces, but there will never be you know, it'll never be whole. I could have always done things differently, but I was really doing the best I could. I thought, yeah, looking back, I would do a lot of things differently. But Garret had his own sense of control. Where there's a will, there's a way. I was a little bit like that when I was a student here at Mount Vernon High School back in the 70s. I knew if there was a party going on that weekend, I know who I was going to spend the night with because her parents weren't home. You know, we know these things. Garret could get in his car and he could drive away. What I did one time, he was working at Bob's Burger and Brew on Cook Road as a dishwasher. He loved that job. And he didn't get up, go to school that morning, and so I called him. I got in his car. I took my car keys with me, and I hopped in his little 240 Volvo, and I texted him that I'm on my way to work. And so you better get up and get to school. You're already late. So, and then he had to go to work after school. And then 30 minutes later, I get this frantic phone call. Mom, where's my car? Oh, honey, I didn't tell you I decided to drive your car today. I'm at the coffee stand on Cook Road. I'll be home when I'm done with work. I can't find the keys to your car. And I said, no, I have them with me. Thinking that would do it. Thinking I could take his car keys away when he was sleeping and get up in the morning. And I tried everything. I really thought I did. And I probably made some excuses, trying to justify and trying to understand and not, and trying to rationalize it myself. What could I be doing differently? But he really did have this intense amount of power, if that makes any sense. Like I really felt a lot of the times my hands were tied. Had I behaved that way to my parents, it would have been a different story. I wouldn't have seen the car keys again. So I really, I can't answer that question. I would take what I could find, I'd destroy it, I'd take pictures of it. I'd send text pictures to his brothers and his sister, and of course they'd get after him. Garret, what are you doing? And then he would tell me I didn't have any right to search his room. Well, if I have a suspicion, I'm going to search your room because there won't be any paraphernalia in the house. You walk away and leave something, smoldering and you burn the house down, that's a lot to live with. I really struggled, how am I going to get through to this kid? And I don't want parents to feel hopeless and doom and gloom, but you can't help but realize these kids are their own people, their own individual. There's a will, there's a way, they're going to do it. And by the grace of God, they survive. And if you trust somebody you don't know and you pay the ultimate price, that's a lesson everybody lives with. And Garret wouldn't have wanted that. And that's why I have to keep turning it around and moving forward. And where's the rainbow in this? A lot of the days there isn't. But then you can touch one kid by doing this. You can touch, you can let them know that this is very real. This is here, Skagit Valley, Mount Vernon High School, Burlington Edison High School, Cedar Woolley, Anacortes. It's here and it's real. Talk to your kids. No matter how scary the topic is, talk, open up the conversation. For years it's been about, sex and STDs, and that's all important too. It is very important. However, the world we are living in today is a whole different world. And with all the substance use disorders out there and self-medication, mental illness, anxiety and depression is pretty much a basic or a common, it's out there. And we have to talk about it. We have to educate our kids. You can't be ashamed, like we talked earlier today. You can't be ashamed of this. This isn't your fault. COVID isn't your fault. Depression isn't your fault. Sadness. If you feel anything different in your body as a kid, reach out, get some help, because there's help. There's help out there. And parents, I was the parent, I talked about anything and everything with my kids. And a lot of the times they were, Mom, really? Yeah, really. Because I'm going to tell you the right way. You're not going to watch a cartoon and see this. I'm going to be there, and we're going to talk the right terminology. We're going to talk about this is real. I think starting a difficult conversation with anybody is, it's always, oh, how do I do this? Do I do it? But I've always believed that we learn from our families. Our families are the hardest to get along with because we didn't pick them. So they should be the easiest to bounce things off of. If parents educate themselves on the dangers of pill jar parties, I knew nothing about that until the detective told me, what's a pill jar party? And I just, oh, that's like a spodioti back in our day. But if you educate yourself on the dangers of what is out there today, then you can have a healthy conversation with your children. You can be that person that they want to come to, because in a non-threatening environment. We always say that. We've heard for years, if you go to a party and you get intoxicated, call, no questions, you won't get in trouble. I was still terrified to do that. But that we have to prove to them that that's what we want them to do. And you have to know that what you are getting out there it's not real. It's fatal. And if we don't all know of somebody, well, we do now. This group, you do know, you know us, who have been affected by this epidemic. And I just think good, open, honest communication, and parents cannot be afraid to open up a conversation, because you could be saving, it could be that one time where that kid says, you know what, I'm going to remember those ladies in those sweatshirts that came and talked to class, or, and it was just that one pill that kid took. Or the conversation that my mom had with me when I came home one night and I wasn't sure what to do about this. I was in an uneasy situation, and parents have to be willing to just keep that door open. And just because you've educated and taught them, said what's on your mind once, if no, open it up again weekly. Open it up.